We're on chapter 10 and working out some payroll problems here. The first thing you have to do with learning how to work payroll is you have to know how to calculate the total earnings. So in problem number 1, if you'll read the print right above the problem there, it says employees are paid 1.5 times their regular rate for overtime hours between 40 and 48, and 2 times the regular rate for overtime hours over 48 per week. So that means the regular rate per hour, you'll have to type all these in, $12.80, $15.60, $13.50, and so on. So this first person has worked 49 hours. That means 40 hours of those are regular hours, so we simply multiply the 40 hours times the regular rate. And the time and a half hours, those are the hours between 40 and 48, so he'll have 8 hours of time and a half. And to calculate that, take the 8 hours times the regular rate per hour times 1.5. The double time hours, this person has 1 hour that qualifies as double time, and that amount then would be 1 hour times the regular rate times 2 for double time. And to get the total earnings, add up those 3 amounts. This person then has $691.20. And you'll do that for all the rest of these, and then you'll need to do totals in all of the earnings amount columns and make sure that those are filled in across the bottom. Down at the next one here, problem 2, we are looking at how much is deducted from a monthly salary for FICA taxes. FICA stands for Federal Insurance Contributions Act, and it refers to 2 different taxes, Social Security tax and Medicare. And if you have ever gotten a paycheck, you will know that these 2 amounts have been subtracted from your paycheck, and your employer has also been required to match those amounts out of his or her pocket. So that's what the FICA tax is, Social Security and Medicare. So we're looking at problem number 2 here. We have a person who makes a monthly salary of $2,980. The percents for Social Security and Medicare, Social Security is 6.2%, and Medicare is 1.45%. All these amounts are in the chapter, so you want to be sure to read that so you understand where these amounts are coming from. So in order to get the amount for Social Security and Medicare, we simply take the total earnings times those percents. So this one would be the Social Security, 184.76, and right here I'm going to do the earnings times 1.45%, and there's the amount for the Medicare. I'm just going to add these 2 together, and your answer for problem 2 should be $227.97. The next section that you need to learn is how to calculate the federal income tax withholding. So let's say that we have a person who makes $3,600 a month. She's a single person and claims 1 withholding allowance. You need to turn back to page 167. You'll see a small table close to the top of the page, and it is giving you the amounts of that you're allowed for each withholding or exemption that you claim. So for a monthly paid person, each allowance is worth $308.33. So the very first thing I'm going to do is take 3,600 and I'm going to minus 308.33. If she'd had 2 exemptions, I would have multiplied that times 2 before I subtracted it. Before we go any further, we can go ahead and do the FICA part, because those are always the same percents every time. So it's 3,600 times, I can use the percent right above here, 6.2%. And the FICA, 3,600 times, the Medicare, 1.45%. Okay, so there are the 2 amounts for the FICA taxes. And now I'm going to calculate the withholding using the percentage method for federal income tax. Turn now to page 168 and you'll see the percentage method tables. And if you'll look down to table 4, you'll see the monthly paid employees will need to be calculated using this table. This person is single, so I'm going to be looking on the left side of the table, and I'm going to find where her salary, after we subtracted the withholding allowance, $32.91, it falls in the middle category there, the 3rd category down. And if you'll read straight across, I'll just put my cursor over here and start calculating. $395.85 plus 25% times the excess over $3,050. So we're talking about this amount here minus $30.50. And end of parentheses, and let's just review that formula. The $395.85 comes right from the table, plus 25% times the excess over $30.50. And we're talking about this amount right here minus $30.50. And if you press enter, add a dollar sign, you will then find that your federal withholding is $456.27. Okay, so then the question is, what is the net pay? Well, the net pay is what is left over after everything is subtracted. So I'm going to start with $3,600. I'm going to minus off the $456.27, minus off the Social Security, minus off Medicare, and your answer for number 3 should be $2868.33. And if you can bold that and put some yellow shading on it. Okay, that is how you do the percentage method. There will be a couple of more problems like this, number 4 and number 5, that you can do, and we're going to omit problem 6, 7, 8, and 9 on page 186. And we're now moving over to page 187, and this is a payroll register. A payroll register is all of the employees together in a business, and at the end of a pay period, whoever is doing the payroll will create a payroll register, has everybody's name on it, what their marital status is, how many withholdings they have, how many hours they're getting paid, and then the amount or the tables needed for calculating the total wages. So once again, this one is 40 hours a week is going to be regular hours. You'll find the regular rate of pay over on page 187. So this first one is $14.90 regular rate, and this person has worked 40 hours. So I'm going to take 14.90 times the 40 hours, and you'll see that we get the wages there for the regular hours as $5.96. He did not have any overtime hours, so I'm just going to put 0 there. However, I could certainly calculate the regular or the overtime rate. It would be $14.90 times 1.5. So if we did have overtime hours, it would be at 22.35. This one didn't have any, so the rate overtime amount is 0. His total wages are simply going to be $5.96. Then you can scroll over here and you'll see the deductions shaded in a sort of an orange color. So now you can do your Social Security. Remember, Social Security is 6.2%, and that's very easy to calculate. Once you get it calculated, you'll be able to fill that down. Medicare is $5.96 times 1.45%, $8.64. And we are going to use the other method now for figuring out what the federal income tax is. It's called the wage bracket method. And the wage bracket method is found by looking up their wages on a big chart. And the IRS puts out a booklet called the Circular E. It's also available online, where your employers can look up this information on each person if they choose to use the wage bracket method, and most people do. Most people choose to use wage bracket method because it is a lot simpler than the percentage method. However, there are people whose salaries go off the scale in the wage bracket tables, and then you are forced to use the percentage method to calculate their federal income tax withholding. So let's just scroll back here and see what this first person is, single with one exemption. So I'm going back over here to my deductions, and I'm going to look on page 170, and I'm looking down the left-hand column to see where $5.96 would be, and it's at the very bottom of the table, $5.96. And if I go over one column, I see that's for 0 exemptions, but if I go over to the next one, I see that his federal income tax withholding is going to be $64. So I got that number right off the table. Again, it's at the very bottom of the Circular E wage brackets on page 170. and look over to the second column and you'll find 64. Okay, this particular person has medical insurance that's taken out of his paycheck for $15, and so now I want the total deductions of Social Security plus Medicare plus federal income tax plus medical insurance. I'm getting total deductions of $124.59 to get the net pay, go back to the total wages here, and minus the total deductions. And that is the net pay for this first person, $471.41. So you'll need to finish all the rest of these employees here for this payroll register using the wage bracket method to calculate their federal income tax withholding. And problem 2, this one is monthly wages paid to employees, and you're to use the percentage method for this one. So do it the way that we did up here on problem 3. And the next one, problem 10.2b, is another one where you're going to use the percentage method to calculate federal income tax. And just a note right here on 10.2b, you'll see wages here, and then you'll see cumulative wages. When you calculate your Social Security amount, be sure to use the wage amount. Do not use the cumulative. The cumulative is used for other purposes so that the employer knows how much he's paid each given employee. This becomes important when the employer has to pay unemployment, because the unemployment is based on a certain cap for each employee in each calendar year. And in this book, we're using the cap of $7,000. So when you see this person here, it has reached over $7,000 in the month of March. So he's already gone over $7,000. So after that point, the employer would no longer have to pay unemployment taxes on this particular employee. I'm going to pause the recording here and continue it in the next recording for Chapter 10. So I'm going to close off here then and continue with the next recording.